of education is what we should not overflog on the continent of Africa. That the space and the speed at which Africa needs to grow and the age gap that we need to fill, we need to plug those gaps. One, the informal side, huge gaps in technical education. But does that give you the equivalent of a degree? No. So as an employer looking down, for me the most important thing is employing people who are employable. Two, employing people who have that critical thinking methodology, who can apply themselves. So you could have formal education, even a PhD, and you're absolutely useless. You could be informally educated, but a critical thinker. So the balance as an employer is being able to evaluate people for themselves and how they present themselves, in what value they will add in what you're doing. That's one. One big missing middle is government's focus on women, girls, and education, even to the tertiary level. It's very, very important. But technology has made a big difference in the way education is being thought about on the continent. I'll give you an example. If you think what mobile telephony and mobile technology has done to Africa the last 15 years, you'd be amazed. You see, a lot of people don't think about it. I have staff at home who had never gone to school. Never gone to school. But don't you wonder how this guy could dial your number? It's amazing. My cook at home can now send me a text. It might not be spelled right, but I can read and get the message. So informal type of education using innovation, technology is an amazing speed in closing the gap on the continent of Africa.
So that is one area you definitely will be advising policymakers to look through, but we can't just sit and hope and wait that they're looking at that. We should be pushing for it, because that is something that we have definitely noticed. Bineta, how would you come in here and advise in terms of policy?
You know, on my own example, I get married as an African woman very young. So the challenge of education, taking care of my family, and get engaged at the workplace. So those are some of the difficulties that you can find nowadays still in Africa. But I didn't give, you know, I continue. I said, okay, I need children, I will do my family work, take care of my husband, but in the meantime, I continue educating myself. You know, at the age of 60, I said, okay, I'm going to do a PhD. My grandchildren say, why? I say, yes. So I think it's important that we continue, even though some of the challenges we face, I think the young people are more determined. Like you said, the IT is also helping. In my own learning, because I think learning is the best thing. Be at the grassroots, you know, it's where you learn the experience you get, the expertise you get, and the education can help to amplify your knowledge. So coming to that, for example, on the issue of peace and security, you know, we know that Africa, we are facing a lot of conflict, but how many people have studies, you know, issues related to conflict resolution and peace building and mediation? Not many. Not many. So that's why in Africa, most of the university, they don't have it. So in my small way of helping young people, I put in place a curriculum, a master degree in Senegal with the University of Peace of Costa Rica. So the young people in the Master 2 program with the UCAT, University Cheikh Anta Diop, to make sure that we graduate young people, men and women, young boys and girls, who can be specialized on these issues of conflict resolution. Because the issue here that we have seen in Nigeria, we want the 200 girls to come back home, safe home. But what can we do to prevent those kind of conflicts? So you need expertise. So I agree, we need to have engineers, not just the traditional education system we used to have, but looking into African problems and develop the expertise we need, the young boys, to be employable. That's the bottom line, because what we say is we need to create jobs, we need to give jobs, but there are a lot of issues that they can learn, and immediately, I can tell you, as soon as they finish the university with the Master 2, everybody is waiting. The UN is waiting, the AU is waiting, you know, the regional, the NGOs, everybody will just take it before even they finish their master degree. So there are opportunities, and we need to promote that with the young people.
I'm going to enter the very next sphere, which is politics. I know that Ashish, you might want to add something to it, but I want you to link it with this. Politics is one area where business people don't like to go. They'd rather politicians, at least in my country, I'm going to draw from my own experience as well. What you find, excuse me, is that a lot of business people tend to stay away from politics because a lot of people believe that it is dirty. So they'll rather not touch it. But do you think that that is wise, considering the fact that government policies affect what you do as a business person, affect the kind of manpower, the kind of skills that you'll be able to get into your business? Do you think it is wise to stay away from politics? And how do you think that young people can begin to enter the realm of politics, considering the fact that a lot of those policies also affect them and will affect them in the future if they do nothing about it?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think I really respect those people who go from the private sector to the public sector. I think it's such an important thing that we need to do. And going from the private sector to the public sector gives a very practical perspective of what is really required as well. And the more young people we get into these positions, the better it's going to be in the long run. So I think I really do have a lot of respect for people who can do that and are willing to do that. I think, you know, as Madame said earlier, you know, having a seat at the table is crucial. Doing it in the right way is crucial. But I think Essie, you know, said it beautifully, which is it's about learning. It's about having the ability to be disciplined to learn and having the ability to learn. It's not necessarily the type of education. Everybody needs that opportunity. I think I want to keep things really simple and real and practical, right? We need to do it for ourselves. I think we've had enough of people trying to do it for us in their own way. We know what we need. We know how we need it. We need to do it for ourselves. It's our time now. We need to stop making excuses or justifying it to ourselves that it's no other way. So I think it needs to be done in a very practical, simple way. We need to keep it really simple.
But more practically, how do you think we can enter the realm of politics? Considering the fact that a lot of people would say that we don't really have a lot of mentors to look up to in that particular realm.
No, but look, I think it comes down to, you know, it's the inspiration piece firstly, but it's also technology. Technology is going to play a huge role in this. It's going to give us a voice. It's going to give us that collective view, you know, but I think it's a matter of being practical about it also, right? I mean, if we want to get into politics, we need to be credible, we need to be able, we need to be able to bring a different perspective. If we're just going to, criticizing from the outside is the easiest thing to do. Right? So as the private sector, we can't just look at the public sector and expect them to change the country and change the world for us. At the same time, the public sector cannot expect the private sector to operate in an efficient manner without enabling us in the real way. This is a two-way street. It has to be practical.
This is itching to say something.
Yes, I completely agree. And I'm one of those people that started my career wanting to do something.
Donc, je suis quelqu'un qui avait commencé.
I've done a complete 180. And I've been inspired by people like Amina Mohammed, you know, where you can see there are people who really want to make a change, and they go into these places and, you know, apply themselves and make the change. But also because trying to do business in an environment that is just not going in the direction you're going, we're not going to get there, right? But everybody should be pulling in the same direction for us to get to a place that we want to get. And so I'm not necessarily thinking that I have to switch sides and go and now do politics, but I think definitely engaging with our leaders, trying to find out what the policies are, trying to have relationships with those that are in government will be helpful. So that's, for me, it's been one of my takeaways from this forum.
What has the reception been like? I mean, in your trying to get closer to political leaders, do you get the feeling that they think that you want something?
To be honest, I haven't actually tried to get closer. But I think that